Most people think of the Great Lakes as safe water, not the ocean. No sharks, no jellyfish, no coral, none of the machinery of fear we attach to salt water. Just 5 enormous, cold, clean freshwater lakes in the middle of the country, ringed by beaches and summer towns and lighthouses, where the biggest worry is the water being too cold to swim. It is one of the most trusted bodies of water in America. But the Great Lakes hold the largest surface of fresh water on the planet, 20% of all the liquid fresh water on Earth, and a system that big does not stay simple. Beneath that trusted surface, and along the wild shores around it, live animals that the people who grew up on these lakes have absolutely no idea are there. Blood-feeding parasites from the ocean. Fish with human-looking teeth. A rattlesnake in every one of the Great Lakes states. And giants, some of them older than the country itself. Today we are counting down 13 things living in the Great Lakes region that most people never knew were there. Ranked not by which is most dangerous, but by how completely each one contradicts the safe, simple picture we carry of these lakes. And by the time we reach number 1, you will understand that the Great Lakes are not the tame water we treat them as. They are a wilderness we simply stopped looking at. This is the kind of thing that keeps your mind turning after dark. Subscribe now, it takes 2 seconds. And tell me one thing in the comments. Which lake are you closest to? I want to see how far these reach. Now let us get under the surface. Number 13, the round goby. We start with the small invader that quietly rewired the entire food web. The round goby is a small, bottom-dwelling fish from the far side of the world, brought in accidentally in the ballast water of ocean ships, and it has now spread across all 5 Great Lakes in staggering numbers. It is aggressive for its size. It takes over the best bottom habitat, and it eats the eggs and young of native fish straight off the lake floor. Here is why it starts the list. Almost nobody swimming or fishing the lakes has any idea the goby is even there, and yet it is now one of the most abundant fish in the entire system. A foreign animal that arrived without anyone noticing and rearranged the lakes from the bottom up. Number 13 belongs to the invisible invader that changed everything while nobody was watching. Number 12, the quagga mussel. Now to an animal that is not just in the lakes, but has physically remade them. The quagga mussel is a small invasive shellfish, no bigger than a thumbnail, that arrived the same way, in ballast water, and has since carpeted the bottom of the Great Lakes in numbers beyond counting, trillions of them, coating every rock, pipe, and wreck in razor-edged shells. And here is the part nobody sees coming. By filtering the water, the quagga mussel has made the Great Lakes dramatically, unnaturally clear. In some places, you can now see down more than twice as far as you could a few decades ago. People take that clarity as a sign of health. It is the opposite. The mussels have stripped the plankton at the base of the food web, starving the native fish, and that clearer water lets sunlight drive deeper and feed harmful algae. The denial is that the lakes look cleaner than ever while being quietly gutted from below. Number 12 goes to the tiny animal that made the water beautiful and broke it at the same time. Number 11, the pacu. Now to a fish that should not be in North America at all and keeps turning up anyway. The pacu is a large South American fish, a relative of the piranha, and it has a mouthful of flat, square, disturbingly human-looking teeth used in its native rivers to crush nuts and seeds. It can grow to well over a foot and several pounds, and in July of 2016, wildlife officials pulled a pacu out of the Great Lakes. They get there because people buy them as aquarium fish, watch them grow too large for the tank, and release them into the nearest water, an act that dumps a tropical oddity into one of the most important freshwater systems on Earth. The denial here is pure disbelief. Nobody scanning a Michigan lake expects to see a piranha relative with a mouthful of human teeth. But they have been caught here. Number 11 belongs to the tropical fish with a human smile that keeps appearing where it cannot possibly belong. Number 10, the snakehead. Stay with the theme of fish that should not exist here, because this one is worse. The northern snakehead is an invasive predatory fish from Asia, long and cylindrical with a flat head and a mouthful of sharp teeth, and it has a genuinely alien ability. It can breathe air, and it can survive out of water for days, wriggling across wet ground from one body of water to the next. A snakehead can reach well over a foot, and as a top predator with no natural checks here, it devastates native fish where it establishes. The denial is that people cannot fit it into their picture of a lake. A fish that walks on land and breathes air belongs in a horror film, not in the water off a public beach. But it is in the Great Lakes system spreading. Number 10 goes to the air-breathing fish that can cross dry land to reach the next lake. Number 9, the invasive carp. Now to the giant of the invaders, and the one that jumps. Several species of large invasive carp have pushed up the rivers toward the Great Lakes, and the most notorious can grow to over 100 pounds and 4 feet long. The silver carp among them does something that turns a calm day dangerous. Startled by the sound of a boat motor, it launches itself up to 10 feet into the air, a heavy, hard-bodied fish flying at the exact height of a person standing in a boat. The denial is that a plant-eating fish cannot be a threat. But these carp have broken the noses, jaws, and ribs of boaters up and down the connected waterways, and they are massed at the doorstep of the Great Lakes, held back only by electric barriers in the canals. A single carp reaching open lake water is a genuine emergency the entire region is spending fortunes to prevent. Number 9 belongs to the 100-pound fish waiting at the gate. Number 8, the lake trout. We are right at the halfway mark, and if you are still here, you are clearly someone who actually wants to know what is down there. So hit subscribe if you have not yet, because from here, the animals stop being invaders and start being giants. The lake trout is native, and it is the great deep water predator of the Great Lakes, living in the cold black water far below where anyone swims. In the biggest, deepest, coldest lakes, it grows to sizes that stop making sense for a trout. Fish well over 50 pounds, living for decades, some past 40 years old in the far north. The denial is the word trout, which conjures a small silver fish in a mountain stream. But down in the dark out of sight, the same fish becomes a slow, cold, long-lived giant, and it very nearly vanished, hammered by overfishing and by an invader we are about to meet, before being clawed back through decades of work. Number 8 belongs to the deep water heavyweight almost nobody realizes is holding station beneath the boats. Number 7, the sea lamprey. This is the animal from the opening, and it is the one that nearly ended the trout. The sea lamprey is a long, eel-shaped parasite from the Atlantic Ocean that reached the upper Great Lakes through shipping canals. And it looks like something from a nightmare. A jawless tube of muscle ending in a round sucking disc of a mouth, ringed with rows of hooked teeth and a rasping tongue. It latches onto a larger fish, grinds through the scales, and feeds on the blood and body fluids of its living host. A single sea lamprey can kill up to 40 pounds of fish over its life, and when it invaded, it collapsed the native fish populations of the lakes almost completely. The denial is that people cannot believe an ocean bloodsucker is thriving in the freshwater lake off a Midwestern beach. But it is there, held in check now only by one of the largest ongoing pest control efforts on the continent. Number 7 goes to the Atlantic blood parasite that turned the Great Lakes into a feeding ground. Number 6, the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake. Now we come ashore, and to a fact that surprises almost everyone. There is a venomous rattlesnake in the Great Lakes region, and it is found in every single one of the Great Lakes states, as well as Ontario. The eastern Massasauga is a small, shy, gray rattlesnake with dark blotches, and it lives in the wet prairies, marshes, and shorelines around the lakes, the exact damp edges where people hike and camp. The denial is that nobody associates the northern lake country with rattlesnakes, which feel like a creature of the desert southwest. So people walk the marshy shorelines with no thought of venomous snakes at all. The Massasauga is timid, and its numbers have fallen sharply, which is why it sits here rather than higher, but it is a true pit viper with a genuine venomous bite, living quietly in wetlands all across the region. Number 6 belongs to the rattlesnake the Great Lakes forgot it had. Number 5, the gray wolf. Now to the shoreline forest, where a predator long assumed gone has quietly returned in force. The gray wolf has recovered across the western Great Lakes region, through the forests of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan's Upper Peninsula, hunting in coordinated packs across enormous territories. An adult stands over 2 feet at the shoulder and can travel dozens of miles in a single night. The denial is the postcard of the peaceful northern lake, all loons and canoes and still mornings with no room in it for a large pack predator. Wolves almost never approach people, which keeps them here rather than higher. But the camp on the quiet lake, the dog let off the leash at dusk, the assumption that the dark tree line is empty, all of it rests on not knowing that some of the densest wolf country in the lower states is right there. Number 5 belongs to the pack hunter, the region welcomed back while almost nobody noticed. Number 4, the Canada lynx. Stay in that same northern forest because it holds a cat almost nobody has any idea shares the region with them. The Canada lynx is a thick-furred wild cat with huge snowshoe-like paws and long black ear tufts, haunting the boreal forests along the northern edge of the Great Lakes. It is built for deep snow and silence, and it is almost never seen. Unlike the wolf and the bear, which generally avoid confrontation, the lynx is notably territorial, armed with hooked claws and sharp teeth. It poses little threat to a person simply because it is so elusive and so rarely encountered, which is exactly why it sits at number 4, as a thing hiding in plain sight rather than a direct danger. The denial is that the northern lake forests hold a wild cat at all. Most people who vacation there will live their whole lives without knowing it moved through the same trees. Number 4 goes to the ghost cat of the northern shore. Number 3, the moose. Now to the largest animal in the entire region and one of the most genuinely dangerous, precisely because it does not look it. The moose stands up to 7 feet at the shoulder and weighs well over 1,000 pounds. And it spends its summers wading in the shallows of the lakes and ponds of the northern Great Lakes country, feeding on the plants along the bottom. The denial is that we file giant plant eaters under gentle, but wildlife experts across the region will tell you that in many areas the moose injures more people than bears and wolves combined, because people walk right up to it for a photo. Startled, crowded, or protecting a calf, a moose will charge and strike with the full force of half a ton, and there is no outrunning it. Number 3 belongs to the 1,000-pound giant people mistake for a peaceful part of the scenery. Number 2, the lake sturgeon. Before we reach number 1, we come to the true monster of the Great Lakes and the oldest. The lake sturgeon is the largest fish native to the entire system, a living fossil armored in rows of bony plates with a shovel snout and 4 trailing whiskers whose family has existed for over 100 million years. It can pass 7 feet in length, and in 2021 a crew pulled one from the Detroit River that weighed 240 pounds and was estimated to be over 100 years old. Sit with that. A single lake sturgeon can live beyond a century, which means the giant holding motionless on the bottom of one of these lakes may have been alive before either World War, growing slowly in the dark the entire time, unseen. There are people who have boated and swum these lakes their whole lives, with no idea that something this large and this ancient is down there beneath them. The denial is that a freshwater lake in the middle of America could hold a 200-pound century-old giant. It can, and it does. Number 2 belongs to the living fossil hiding in the most familiar water in the country. Number 1, the lakes themselves. Stay with me, because number 1 is not an animal. It is the thing that makes every animal on this list possible, and it is the deadliest force in the entire region by a wide margin. It is the water. We treat the Great Lakes as tame because they are fresh and familiar, but they are not lakes in any way a person's instincts understand. They are inland freshwater seas, big enough to have their own horizons, their own shipping lanes, their own storms that have sunk hundreds of ships. They kill people every single year, in a way no animal on this list comes close to. The water in Lake Superior is brutally cold even in summer, cold enough to steal the strength from a strong swimmer's body in minutes. The lakes generate sudden, violent rip currents along their beaches and dangerous standing waves that pull swimmers off piers. Far more people drown in the Great Lakes each year than are ever harmed by anything living in them. And here is the thread through all 13. We look at these lakes and see the opposite of wilderness. We see beaches and summer houses and calm blue water, a place so safe and so familiar that we stopped thinking of it as nature at all. But a body of water holding a fifth of the fresh water on Earth was never tame. It hides ocean parasites and prehistoric giants. It shelters wolves and rattlesnakes and moose along its shores. And its cold water takes lives every year, all while looking like the safest place in the country to spend an afternoon. We did not stop seeing these things because they hid. The lamprey, the sturgeon, the wolf on the far shore, they were here the whole time, and looking honestly would mean admitting that the friendly lake of the postcards is a wilderness and a genuinely dangerous one. So the next time you stand on a Great Lakes beach and look out at that calm, cold, enormous surface, remember that it tells you almost nothing about what is beneath it, or how quickly it can turn, and that the safety you feel there was never a fact about the water. It was only ever a habit of not looking. If this is the kind of thing that keeps your mind turning after dark, subscribe and stay with the channel. And tell me in the comments, which of these did you have no idea was in the Great Lakes?